What do they do? We provide basic needs for our clients. We provide shelter. We have 3 shelters. We have shelter for men, shelter for women, and also shelter for people who are intoxicated under the influence, men and women. We also provide housing, supportive housing, different levels of supportive housing. We also provide a soup kitchen, grocery program, clothing program, and case management as well. To find out when people come to the Shepherds, why are they here, where are they from, and where are they going, and how can we help them? Can we help them with housing? Can we help them with addiction issues? Can we help them with mental health issues? We help them with employment, what can we do for them? So a large range of people that we help each year. We serve 1,700 people a day. Well, the average age is about 35. So we do have some people that are really young, and we have some people that are really old. But the gentlemen, men are on the streets a lot earlier. Sometimes they're on the street when they're 17, 18, and they'll stay on the street from there on. Women tend to be more resourceful and will end up on the street later, maybe 50, later in their life, as opposed to early when the guys go on the street. Well, a lot of the people, there's different mental health issues, and people probably in your family, my family, different people's family, you might have mental health issues. They might be schizophrenic, but they keep it under control, or they might have depression or obsessive compulsive disorder, or any sort of personality disorder they could have, and do very well at home. But however, sometimes if they have it severe enough, medication doesn't help, or they don't have the network around them to help them out as well, that's when they will end up on the street. And they could have a couple different mental health issues. They could be obsessive compulsive and schizophrenic. So they're hearing voices and they're being obsessive about stuff, or they're bipolar, and they've got a personality disorder. So they're bipolar, they're up, they're down, they're up and down, plus they have a personality disorder. So there's many different mental health issues, and a lot of them we deal with have severe mental health issues, and we have a couple of them. Now, alcoholism and addicts. The young guys who are here, who look like you guys, dress like you guys, they're addicts, because there's no such thing as old drug addicts, because their lifestyle does not permit that. You don't live older. 25 is ancient for a drug addict. If they're using when they're young, they'll die by the age they're 25. The older guys are the alcoholics. Now, how they end up on the street, there's different, it could be because of pain, it could be because, maybe my mother and father were alcoholics. There's all intertwined issues. Maybe they have a mental health issue as well, and they're trying to cope with that by using the alcohol or using the drugs. So it could be a combination of both. Some people have mental health issues and addictions, and some people might just be addicts, and some people might just have mental health issues. But a lot of times they're both kind of mental health issues, in my opinion, and sometimes they both kind of come together, and a lot of times that's again another reason why they end up on the streets, because they've got a couple of concurrent disorder. That's what they call it. I'll tell you some stories. I'll tell you a couple of people that came to the Shepherds. I'll tell you a gentleman that lived in Orleans, who was living with his wife and 2 daughters in a beautiful, huge house, and just having, living a great life. And he was cleaning his garage one day, and he got hit in the head with the garage door, and the trauma to his head began the onset of mental health issues. So he was taken to the hospital. He left the hospital, came back to his house, and things were starting to happen. He was doing bizarre things, and so they took him back and see if they could get some medication for him. That wasn't really working. And sometimes even if the medication does work, it doesn't work full strength, and sometimes it has side effects, and the side effects are worse than the mental health issues. So sometimes you have to make a choice there. Anyways, Peter was having a hard time being back at home. They tried to put him in, his brother tried to put him in a group home. It didn't work out. Peter ended up on the street, and from the streets he came into the Shepherds of Good Hope. So within a 6-month period, he was living at home with his wife and 2 daughters, and because of his mental health issues, bizarre behavior, scary to his kids, and his wife, he's gone from living at a nice, beautiful home in Orleans to living in a shelter. So that's one person that came to the Shepherds of Good Hope because of mental health issues. And other issues are alcoholism as well as another issue. Someone who's using drugs or alcohol will come to the Shepherds as well. And there's a gentleman that was from Calgary, and he owned a Subway franchise in Calgary, and he had a wife and a baby, and he went to work one day, and his wife and baby went out for a walk, and a drunk driver came up the sidewalk and killed both his wife and baby. And so the Calgary police phoned him and told him, what had happened. So he came home, and obviously he never drank. So it was kind of ironic that he started drinking because of the pain, and ended up losing his franchise and the Subway franchise, and then losing his house, and of course he lost his family already. And how he ends up from Calgary into a shelter in Ottawa, not sure how. But alcoholism was one of the reasons why it brought him to the Shepherds. So those are 2 people that come to the Shepherds. They come from all sorts of walks of life. There's people that have been teachers, doctors, lawyers, different people that have been affected by either mental health issues or addictions or just circumstances of life, for example, unemployment. A lot of times we have coping mechanisms. We all have coping mechanisms to help us sort of keep that way. We have parents, we have friends, people that will help us out. And some people don't have those coping mechanisms, and they'll end up on the street. So those are a couple of people that we deal with. Well, the government role at this point is that of giving funding. For example, we receive per diem rates for people who are living in our shelter. So from the City of Ottawa, we get per diem rates. So, for example, if somebody stays in a shelter, for us to have them stay there and feed them, look after them, give us, $32 or whatever a night for us to look after the clients. The Ontario government, the provincial government, Ministry of Housing and the Ministry of Health also will help us with some funding in our supportive housing unit. Our managed alcohol program is funded by the federal government. So all 3 levels are giving us some funding. However, we largely rely on the generosity of people and individuals. So about 45 to 50% of our money comes from the general public donating.
55%?
Probably close to 50. I would say it fluctuates from year to year, so it's anywhere from 45 to 55 in that 10%. It fluctuates from year to year, so that a lot comes from the general public, yeah, for sure. Well, we try not to be political because we receive funding from the government. I think money is fine, and we know what to do with it, but I think if there's programs set up for people to just more case management, I think, for clients. Case managers have larger loads. If they had smaller loads, if they were able to get people out of the shelter into the community and give them support when they're in the community. For example, someone has a mental health issue, they're on medication, they're doing well. Maybe there could be a social worker to make sure that they're keeping to use their medication so they don't go back to the shelter. So there's a lot of that sort of support that I think needs to be more infrastructure with the social workers and clients, and just making sure that they don't end up, because a lot of times they'll leave the shelter, go into housing, end up back in the shelter because they couldn't cope, or they forgot to take their medication or something like that. So if there's somebody that, but there isn't the resources out there isn't the money out there to pay for, more social workers to be out there to work with the clients on an individual basis. So that would be my only recommendation.